The holidays bring out the best in people. Charity, love, generosity. But in my line of work, I don't see the best in people. I see the parasites. The ones who view Christmas not as a time of giving, but as a deadline for taking. December 24th, 11:42 p.m. Most families were asleep, waiting for Santa. But the subject wasn't sleeping. She was in the driveway. The trunk of her sedan was popped open. The snow was falling softly, muting the sound of her footsteps. But through my telephoto lens, everything was crystal clear. She wasn't loading luggage for a holiday trip. She was loading the family silver, the antique jewelry box, and the wrapped gifts that were supposed to be under the tree the next morning. She looked over her shoulder. Once. Twice. She thought she was alone in the dark. She thought she had pulled off the perfect heist. She was wrong. I adjusted the focus on my camera. Click. Got you. Welcome to the PI Diaries. Case file number 902 open. Let's investigate. Before we dig into the evidence, make sure you're subscribed. Most people watching these files aren't. Don't miss the next investigation. This case started 3 weeks prior. The client walked into my office looking like he hadn't slept in days. He was young, maybe mid-20s, but he carried the weight of a man twice his age. He told me about his father, a successful businessman who had recently remarried, the new wife, the subject. She was charming, beautiful, and according to the client, completely fake. Things are going missing, he told me. Small things at first. A watch here, some cash from a wallet there, classic gaslighting. When confronted, the subject would blame the housekeeper, or she would blame the client's forgetfulness. She was slowly isolating the father, making him doubt his own son. But then the stakes got higher. The father announced he was rewriting his will. He wanted to leave the majority of the estate to his new bride. The client knew time was running out. He didn't care about the money for himself. He cared about protecting his father from a predator. He needed proof, and he needed it before December 25th. Why Christmas? Because that's when the subject insisted on hosting a massive party. The client suspected she was planning something big, a grand exit, or a total takeover. I took the case. Retainer paid up front. Step 1 was establishing a baseline. I started surveillance on the subject the next morning. She played the role of the doting wife perfectly. Coffee runs, gym sessions, charity luncheons. From the outside, she was a saint, but a PI knows to look at the cracks in the facade. Day 3 revealed the first crack. The subject drove to a dodgy part of town, not the place you go for a charity gala. She pulled into the back lot of a pawn shop. I parked across the street and killed the engine. She went in with a large tote bag. She came out 20 minutes later. The bag was empty, but her purse looked heavier. I waited for her to leave. Then I went inside. A little grease on the palm gets people talking. The pawnbroker showed me what she sold. A vintage Rolex, engraved. To Michael, love always. That was the client's father. I snapped photos of the logbook. This wasn't just theft. This was liquidation. Step 2. The digital trail. People lie, but their search history tells the truth. The client had given me access to the home Wi-Fi network. I set up a packet sniffer to monitor traffic. It didn't take long. The subject wasn't shopping for Christmas gifts. She was browsing real estate, not local, overseas, condos in non-extradition countries. She was also looking up divorce settlements and spousal support loopholes. But here is where the twist comes in. She wasn't planning to divorce him, not yet. She was researching life insurance payouts, accidental death clauses. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about stealing heirlooms. This was about setting up a retirement fund. A fund built on a dead husband. The timeline accelerated. It was 2 days before Christmas. The client called me in a panic. "She's insisting on making Dad's special eggnog this year," he said. "She never cooks. Why now?" I told him to calm down. "Don't drink it," I said, "and make sure your father doesn't either. Switch the glasses if you have to." I needed to catch her in an undeniable act. Something that would stand up in court. Something that would shatter the father's blind trust. Surveillance continued around the clock. The house was decorated like a magazine cover. Lights, wreaths, a 12-foot tree. It was the perfect setting for a family gathering or a crime scene. Christmas Eve, the night of the incident. The party had ended. Guests had gone home. The lights in the house went dark around 11:00 p.m. I was parked in my usual spot. Thermos of black coffee, heater off to avoid condensation. I saw the garage door open. Just a crack, then fully. The subject emerged. She was dressed in black. Gloves, boots. She wasn't sneaking out to meet a lover. She was moving boxes. I watched as she methodically stripped the house. Not the furniture. Nothing that would be missed immediately from the street. She was taking the small, high-value items. The safe in the office? She had the combination. I saw her carry out stacks of bonds, cash, jewelry. And then, the final insult. She went to the living room. She started taking the wrapped presents from under the tree. Gifts that the father had bought for the client. Gifts for her own friends. She was stealing Christmas. Literally. She was emptying the house before she disappeared. She probably had a flight booked for the morning. Leave the husband. Take the loot. Claim she was scared or make up a story later. But she needed to get the assets out first. I had enough. This was the smoking gun. I texted the client. "Wake your father now. Bring him to the window." I stayed in the car, recording. I needed the father to see this with his own eyes. If I intervened, she would spin a lie. She would say she was organizing or donating. But loading a trunk at midnight? That speaks for itself. A light flickered on in the master bedroom, then the hallway. I zoomed in on the front door. It flew open. The client stepped out, supporting his confused, half-asleep father. The subject froze. She was holding a silver candelabra in one hand and a stack of cash in the other. The look on her face wasn't shame. It was rage. Pure, unfiltered malice. She had been caught. The mask slipped. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She screamed. "I earned this!" she yelled. "Putting up with you for 2 years. I earned every penny." The father stood there, silent, heartbroken, but finally seeing the truth. The Grinch wasn't a monster from a storybook. She was the woman sleeping next to him. I stepped out of the car, phone in hand. "Police are on the way, ma'am," I said calmly. "I suggest you put the silver down." She looked at me, then at the open trunk. For a second, I thought she might run. She looked at the car keys in her hand, but the client had already moved to block the driveway. The investigation was over. The confrontation was brutal, but necessary. The aftermath was swift. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Grand larceny, attempted embezzlement, and thanks to the pawnshop records I provided, trafficking in stolen goods. The father filed for an annulment the next day. He was devastated, sure, but he was alive, and he still had his son. They spent Christmas Day giving statements at the precinct. Not the holiday they wanted, but they were together, and the house, it was still standing. The subject spent her Christmas in a holding cell. No eggnog, no presents, just the cold reality of consequences. Greed is a funny thing. It blinds you. It makes you think you're smarter than everyone else. It makes you think you can steal an entire life and pack it into a sedan. But there's always someone watching. There's always a lens in the dark. The client paid my invoice in full, plus a bonus. He said it was the best Christmas gift he ever got. The gift of truth. What would you have done in the client's shoes? Would you have waited for the police, or would you have handled it? Personally? Walk away, or burn it all down? Let me know in the comments. This is the PI Diaries. Case closed.